And in a way, this became a beat story. I mean, for Matt and I and Wanda, I mean, this was our beat. And like any beat, you get to know all of the potential sources on that beat in a personal way you don't get if you were just showing up for a news conference and then going home. So how does it affect it? Well, obviously, the better you know people, the better you can try to fairly represent who they are and what they're trying to accomplish. Whether you agree with them or not, I mean, and to me, I kept checking myself to not get so dismissive because these people were so nuts that I wasn't giving a fair voice to what they believed, whether it was right or wrong in the material, but people needed to understand that. And the more time I spent with Ammon Bundy or Lavoie or Ryan Payne, the more nuance I could bring to my reporting. Does that answer your question?
Well, I think my question is less about that reporting challenge, although I think that's an important thing, but just like, I feel like in this conversation in particular, we talked a lot about Bundys and about the county, about a lot of how this is impacting policy, and not about the human story that happened there. You know, there's people who were just drawn out there, and why were these people drawn out there, and what's happening? You know, like, what is it? I guess I'm just fixated on David Fry, and why aren't we discussing him?
Ask a sharper question, I guess.
I guess the question is, why aren't we talking more about David Fry tonight?
David Fry was, we found out about David Fry OPB. We were the first to report on him. And the reason I bring that up is because, no, I'm not saying it that way, although Les should take it that way. But what I'm saying is because it came through us through Twitter. Somebody said, hey, this guy from Ohio, and it was one of the, I don't know how many Amanda and Les we were getting like so many tips, and most of them were bullshit. But it had come after a story we had done about computers. And he said that he was doing the computers. So I saw the video of this from Portland. I call Amanda, and I said, Amanda, go find this guy if you can, named David Fry.
And I'm like, I have other shit to do. What is going on? But I chased him down.
And that started a relationship. And at the end of it, when it got to the point where both Amanda and myself were calling David Fry often, there came a point where there was radio silence, and we've since talked about it, but at the time we weren't. When there was a cell phone left on the compound, and we were contacting with David Fry every 4 hours to make sure that he was still alive because we didn't have anything coming out. I spent a lot of time talking with David Fry. I spent a lot of time talking with David Fry's grandfather and his father. And it's very sad to me to see what's happened to him. But what was sadder is when I thought he was dead. And the reason I thought that he was dead was at the end, there's a point where he says, okay, I'm going to have this last cigarette. I don't know if you remember that on the video. I thought he was going to kill himself. And I started crying when I listened to it.
I think that moment was just also really surreal because for me, I was at the roadblock at that point, and normally you have radio silence from what's going on within the compound, but now we were able to all listen to what was happening, and I mean that moment was certainly tough to listen to because we were like, wow, is this person gonna kill himself now on live YouTube? And that's another interesting technological aspect to this whole story was that part. But I think also David Fry is one of many people that a whole lot of interesting characters flocked in there that we didn't even have time to talk about because it's like, or they didn't get that, like, because David Fry was one of the last ones. I mean, there were many where you're like, wow, okay, totally different character, totally different background, totally different agenda. Because, David Fry all of a sudden brought the whole abortion talk that we didn't really have that before that much. So there were just like a lot of different players that looked at this whole thing, why they're there, from a very different perspective.
And we talk about it proportional to the kind of size that they are to the story, and David Fry as far as regards to the story. I do want to say one thing that I think is really important is that because of the live coverage of this, and because of the nature of it with social media, this became very, very close to being the first reality show that resulted in a death. I don't think people understood how close this became to being a reality show. There were sumo wrestlers coming. I saw one of the papers, I won't say which one, but list just stuff that I couldn't believe was in the paper. I'll just leave it at that. we started to trivialize it, and one of the things that I'm very, very proud of my colleagues and my editors is that we looked at this and we decided to continually tell the human element and the human element of the human sides of the story. We did not look at it as some kind of sideshow, and we always took it with a great amount of seriousness.
One of the things that, in addition to doing the daily reporting and figuring out what the breaking news of the day was, I was constantly thinking about these longer features and how do we get to why these people are here. I mean, uprooted from families and jobs. Like, this isn't just some crazy adventure for these people. Like, this is a mission that they were on. So somewhere along the way, I decided to do a story about the women of the occupied refuge, and it rubbed a lot of people in our audience the wrong way because I talked about their motivations and their lives and their backgrounds, and they said, why are you giving voice to these criminals? But I think it's important if we're going to be covering this bizarre and unusual situation, and these people are coming from across the country in some places to undertake this crazy act, we have to understand what brings them there and who they are.
We have to recognize their humanity, and Amanda did a great job with that, especially in the women and Malheur piece.
I think a lot of people at this table did that in
Yeah.
various ways too.
I think what I've learned tonight is the tremendous dedication of all you folks and all that worked with you on this. I mean, you're representing a lot of people that aren't here tonight, and I know that I was transfixed here in Portland just reading it and in my own mind strategizing, what if I were still in the business, what would I be doing? And so, just as a final thought, and these folks are going to be here for you to visit with, the day I called Wanda and Amanda, I couldn't, it took me 2 or 3 calls, and when I finally got them, I asked, what's going on? Everybody's in birds today, why? Remember what you said? The birds came back.
Yeah.
And so with that, the birds being back, thank you all for coming, thank you all for tremendous